Pack your bags and get out. You're not family anymore. That's the first thing I heard the night everything in my life flipped upside down. And the worst part? The voice yelling those words belonged to my own daughter. My name is Margaret. I'm 63, retired, and I raised my daughter Lily on my own after her father passed. I worked 2 jobs, skipped meals, skipped vacations, skipped everything so she could grow up safe, educated, and loved. So imagine my shock when the girl I once wrapped in blankets during thunderstorms was now standing in the hallway with her arms crossed, her husband behind her like some angry bodyguard, both staring me down like I'd committed a crime. But let me back up, because none of this happened overnight. It started with what I thought was a simple favor. 3 months earlier, Lily called me crying. "Mom, I can't do this newborn thing alone. I'm exhausted. Can you please come stay with us for a bit?" Of course, I said yes. I packed my bags, grabbed my arthritis meds, and moved in to help her with baby Jacob. I cooked, cleaned, folded mountains of laundry, whopped the baby at 3 a.m., everything a mom does out of love. And at first, it felt like old times. Lily smiled more. The baby slept better. The house felt warm and alive. But then, the shift started. Her husband, Trevor, suddenly stopped saying thank you. His mother, Diane, began visiting every other day, giving me side eye like I was squatting on her property. And Lily, well, she became distant, short-tempered, whispering with Trevor whenever they thought I wasn't paying attention. One morning, I overheard something that made my stomach drop. Trevor whispered, "We just need her out before the refinance goes through." Lily replied, "She won't make a fuss. She never does." My heart froze. Refinance what exactly? This was their house, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Later that night, I walked past the kitchen and saw documents spread across the counter. Loans, bank letters, property assessments. But the name on the property papers wasn't Lily's. It wasn't Trevor's either. It was mine. That's when I remembered. Years ago, when Lily was planning to get married, I secretly bought the house she loved. I put the deed in my own name temporarily, planning to transfer it to her as a wedding gift once I felt her marriage was stable. It was a safety net, for her. But they didn't know that. They just assumed the house was theirs and I was a nuisance living in their space. Once I saw those documents, something ugly clicked into place. Trevor and Diane weren't annoyed by me. They were scared. Scared I'd find out the truth. They were drowning in secret debt. They wanted to refinance the house to bail themselves out, and they needed me gone to do it. But that wasn't even the worst part. 2 nights later, I heard baby Jacob crying. Loud, non-stop painful wailing. I rushed toward the nursery, only to find the door locked. Diane's voice echoed from inside. "Let him cry. He has to learn." My blood boiled. The baby was only 3 months old. I pounded on the door. "Open this right now. What the hell is wrong with you?" When Trevor opened it, his eyes were blazing. "Don't talk to my mom like that in my house." I pounded on the door. "Open this right now. What the hell is wrong with you?" When Trevor opened it, his eyes were blazing. "Don't talk to my mom like that in my house." "Your house? Oh, sweetheart, you have no idea." But before I could respond, Lily stormed down the stairs like a hurricane. Her face was blotchy, her hair messy, her voice trembling with rage. "Mom, pack your bags. Tonight. You're leaving first thing in the morning." My jaw dropped. "Lily, what?" "Just go," she snapped. "You're ruining everything." But she had no idea the real storm hadn't even started. They thought kicking me out would be easy. But once they discovered who actually owned the house, the entire family exploded. And trust me, the next twist hit them harder than any of them were ready for. I didn't move. Not then. Not when Lily stomped up the stairs, throwing her words like daggers. I stood in the living room, arms crossed, staring at them all. Trevor, Diane, Lily, thinking they had me cornered. "You seriously expect me to just leave?" I asked, my voice calm but sharp. "Like ice sliding over steel. After everything I've done? After raising you, Lily? After helping you with this baby?" Lily froze. Her face shifted from anger to panic. Trevor's jaw tightened. Diane rolled her eyes, muttering under her breath like she was some queen passing judgment. "You've been here long enough," Lily said. We need our space. This isn't your home anymore." I let out a slow laugh. Low, quiet. "Oh, it's your space now, huh?" I stepped closer to the kitchen counter, where those papers still lay. I picked up the folder, the mortgage statements, the deed. My hands held steady, because for the first time, I felt that quiet, unstoppable power of truth. You bought this? Trevor asked, disbelief flashing across his face. Years ago, I said, flipping through the papers, and it's been in my name ever since. Guess what? You don't get to kick me out of my own house. Not tonight, not ever. Diane gasped, covering her mouth like she'd just bitten into a lemon. Lily's jaw went slack. Even Trevor looked like someone had just pulled the rug out from under him. You're lying, Lily said, voice shaking. Mom, you can't just… I already did, I interrupted. I can and I will. You've been treating me like some old lady who exists to clean up after your messes. Well, guess what? That ends tonight. Trevor and Diane exchanged glances, panic creeping into their expressions. They hadn't expected this. They thought fear would keep me quiet. They thought anger would break me. But all the years of holding in my frustration, the years of being polite, obedient, invisible, all of it had built up into something sharp and dangerous. Mom, please, Lily begged, her voice cracking. I didn't know. You didn't know, I repeated. You didn't look. You didn't ask. You just assumed. And now you want me gone? I moved to the living room table, spreading the papers out so everyone could see. Bank statements, mortgage deeds, tax bills, every payment I'd made over the years for their comfort and convenience. You see these? I asked, voice steady, eyes burning. Every single penny of this house, every dime, came from me. I worked my ass off so you could have a roof over your head. And now, after everything, you think you can just erase me? Trevor swallowed hard, trying to speak, but the words caught in his throat. Diane looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. Lily started pacing, back and forth like a trapped tiger, her hands twisting the hem of her shirt. Then I dropped the bomb. I picked up the folder with the mortgage deed, held it high. And for the record, I said slowly, savoring the pause, this house, legally or 100%, is mine. Not yours, not your mom's, not your husband's. Mine. And you don't get to play house with someone else's life. The silence in the room was deafening. Every breath felt heavy. Trevor's face went pale. Diane looked like she'd just seen a ghost. And Lily's shoulders slumped. Her bravado had crumbled. I let them sit in that silence for a moment, let the weight of reality sink in. And then, quietly, I added, almost as an afterthought. But that's just the beginning. What you did next, trust me, you're going to wish you never crossed me. They thought kicking me out was the final move. They didn't know the next shock would leave them begging, trembling, and questioning every single decision they'd ever made. I could see the fear creeping into their eyes, the subtle panic that only comes when people realize they've underestimated someone they thought was weak. Lily's hands shook as she reached for her phone, probably thinking she could call her brother, her mom, anyone who would rescue her from me. Put the phone down, I said calmly. My voice was soft, but there was a steel edge that made even Trevor freeze mid-step. You're not calling anyone. Not tonight. Not until you've actually faced what you've done. Lily's lips parted like she was about to argue, but no words came out. That was the first real victory of the night. Fear silenced her, just for a second. But the worst was yet to come. I walked over to the kitchen counter and started pulling out more documents. Bank statements, receipts, credit card bills, even tiny amounts I had sent for diapers, groceries, and daycare expenses. Trevor's face went pale the more he saw. Diane's eyes darted around, trying to find some escape, some loophole, anything to make this nightmare stop. You remember that car you drive? I asked, holding up the loan papers. Guess who co-signed it? Yep, me. So if it wasn't for me, Trevor, you'd be taking the bus every day, just like you should have been doing all along, instead of expecting your mother-in-law to bail you out. Trevor's jaw tightened. Diane gasped. Lily buried her face in her hands, realizing the storm they brought down on themselves. And that condo you've been living in rent-free, I continued, voice rising slightly, my calm turning into controlled fire. All paid for by yours truly. Oh, and those emergency credit card bills. Paid. Every last one. But tonight, that generosity ends. I slammed the folder on the counter. The thud echoed like a gunshot. Do you get it now? You've been living off me, treating me like a resource, like I was some bank account with legs, instead of a mother who raised you from scratch. And now you're surprised when I tell you no more. Trevor opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. No, don't even try to justify it. You knew exactly what you were doing. You lied to me. You erased my presence in my own house. And now you're standing there like it's all my fault. Diane's face turned red. She tried to step forward, but Trevor held her back. Enough, he snapped. You're overreacting. I laughed, low and dangerous. Overreacting? You think this is overreacting? Let me tell you what's coming next. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and started going through my recent transactions. Every automatic transfer, every monthly payment you've depended on, canceled. Effective immediately. Lily looked up, eyes wide. Mom, you can't just… Oh, I can, and I just did, I said, pressing the buttons with slow precision. Each confirmation made the room colder, heavier, like gravity itself had shifted. Trevor's face went gray. Diane's lips trembled. And Lily, she finally understood. Their entire illusion of safety, their whole family nest, built on my money, was collapsing. I leaned back, watching them squirm. You wanted me gone? Well, I'm not going anywhere. And now, you're going to deal with the consequences of your choices. Every lie, every sneaky move, every manipulative tactic, it all ends tonight. For the first time, silence settled over the room. A tense, suffocating silence, the kind that comes before a storm. And then I added, almost casually, like a scalpel to a wound, oh, and by the way, there's one more surprise you're not ready for. Something you've been hoping I'll never find out. And when you do, it's going to blow your minds. The room froze. Trevor's hand dropped from his face. Diane's eyes widened. Lily's hands fell from her face. Her lips parted like she was about to scream. They thought this confrontation was the climax. They were wrong. They had no idea the next revelation would shatter their world completely. And it was something only I could reveal. By the time they understood, it would be too late to fix anything. I reached into the second folder I had brought, the one thicker, heavier, and packed with everything they thought I'd never notice. Every hidden bank statement, every tiny expense they'd assumed I wouldn't track. Every document proving how much they had been living off me. And then, the piece they'd least expected. I pulled out a folder labeled Lily Secrets. Their eyes followed my hands like hawks. I could see it in Trevor's face first. A subtle twitch around his eyes, a flash of panic Diane tried to mask. And Lily herself, she turned ghostly white. You really think you can manipulate me? I said, my voice calm, almost friendly. But inside, my heart hammered with the righteous fire of years of betrayal. You've been playing house in my own home, lying about permission, taking what isn't yours, and all the while hiding things I never should have found out. Lily's lips quivered. Mom, no, say that, I interrupted. You've had plenty of chances to tell the truth, and tonight, I'm giving you zero options but to face reality. I placed the folder on the counter and opened it slowly, letting the suspense hang in the air. Photos, emails, screenshots, and receipts spilled out. Every lie they'd told, every scheme to extract money, every manipulation. It was all there. See this? I said, holding up an email Lily had sent to Trevor, with a subject line that made my stomach churn. Mom will never find out. Do you realize what you've been doing? Planning behind my back, thinking you're smarter than me, thinking I wouldn't notice? Trevor stepped forward, as if to grab the folder. I held my hand up, stopping him. Not a single move. This is mine. All of it. Every last piece of proof you've tried to hide. Every sneaky, selfish thing. It ends now. Diane's voice shook. This isn't fair. You're my mother. And that's exactly why it's fair, I replied sharply. I gave, I sacrificed, I endured. And what did I get? Lies, manipulation, my own house turned against me. You forgot one rule, Diane. Respect isn't optional, it's mandatory. And when it's violated, there are consequences. I glanced at Lily. Her face was pale, her hands trembling. Do you understand now what happens when you try to erase someone's existence? When you try to rewrite history to suit your comfort? You get caught. And tonight, you're getting caught. Trevor tried again. Mom, please, it wasn't that bad. I cut him off with a look. Not that bad? You've made me question every choice, every sacrifice. You've turned my love into a tool you wielded for your own gain. And tonight, the game stops. Every single bit of it. I began spreading out the documents on the counter. Receipts for groceries I had paid, bills I had covered, trips I had funded, repairs I had handled, even those small, desperate loans I had given. They all screamed the same thing. I had been exploited. And here's the part you didn't expect, I said, my voice dropping. The part that will leave you reeling. I pulled out a single sheet, a bank statement, recent, showing that I had been quietly saving an account separate from everything else. The amount? Enough to ensure that none of their schemes could touch me ever again. You've thought you could control me, that I'd always be your safety net, that I'd always pay, always cover, always forgive. You've been wrong. Every penny you've spent, every lie you've told, every sneaky move you've made, they've all led to this moment. Lily's jaw dropped. Trevor's face went gray. Diane's hands trembled. I leaned forward, my eyes locked on each of them in turn. And now, you're going to learn what it means to face the consequences, to lose control, to realize that Mom isn't just a soft voice you can ignore. I'm the force you never reckoned with. The room went silent. Their entire world, the illusion of safety, of entitlement, was crumbling before their eyes. And then, with a quiet smile, I added the final twist. You thought tonight was about money? About my house? No, tonight is about everything. And by the time I'm done, you'll understand why nothing you've ever done against me will go unanswered. They believed they were playing the game, but the real game, it had just begun. And I held all the pieces. The room felt thick, like the air itself was holding its breath. They all stared at me as if I'd just set off a bomb in the middle of the living room. But they didn't realize the biggest explosion hadn't even happened yet. I closed the folder slowly, letting the tension simmer. Sit down, I said firmly. Trevor hesitated. Diane didn't move. Lily sank into the couch like her legs had given out. I said sit, I repeated, sharper. Trevor sat. Good. Now, I continued, since we're all being honest tonight, let's talk about the real reason you were trying to kick me out. Trevor's eyes flickered. Diane stiffened. Lily pressed her palms to her knees, bracing herself. You didn't want me gone for space. You didn't want privacy. You didn't want independence. I leaned forward. You wanted access. Trevor swallowed. Access to what? I snarked. My accounts. Diane gasped softly. Lily's face dropped into her hands again. You think I'm stupid? I continued. You think I didn't notice the attempts to log into my banking apps? The calls pretending to be me? The so-called accidental resets of my passwords? Trevor, I'm old, not dumb. Trevor stammered. That wasn't me. It was your IP address, I snapped. Try harder. Diane snatched her purse. She's making things up. Margaret, this is ridiculous. I cut her off. Diane, I know you didn't like me since the day you found out your son married a woman who wasn't going to fund his entire lifestyle. But you, helping him steal from me, trying to push me out so you two could refinance the house and use my property like it was your personal piggy bank? Oh, sweetheart, you're not getting out of this clean. Diane looked like she'd swallowed a cactus. Lily whispered, voice shaking, Mom, I didn't know they were trying to access your accounts. I looked at her for a long moment. Didn't you? The silence that followed was painful. She looked away. I nodded. That's what I thought. I picked up my phone and opened the app again. Everything you tried to hide, all those sneaky late-night calls, all those little secrets? I already talked to my bank this morning. I filed reports. I flagged my accounts. I secured everything you thought I'd never notice. Trevor's head snapped up. You filed reports? Sure did, I said. And depending on what they find, there may be charges. Diane nearly choked. Charges? Against your own family? That depends on if they act like a family, I replied. Right now, you're acting like thieves. Trevor's voice broke. Margaret, we're sorry, okay? We were drowning. I lost hours at work. Bills piled up. Diane had her surgery. We were desperate. You could have asked, I said coldly. But instead, you tried to force me out of my own house. Lily finally lifted her head, tears running down her cheeks. Mom, we didn't want to hurt you. But you did, I said softly. And you kept doing it. And you kept lying about it. And you let them treat me like garbage under my own roof. The room fell silent again. I walked to the front door, grabbed the set of keys hanging on the hook, and held them up. You want to stay here? I said quietly. Then you follow my rules. You respect me. You talk to me like I'm a human being, not free labor, not a bank account, not someone you can shove around. Trevor nodded slowly. Diane stayed frozen. Lily's shoulders shook with sobs. But if anyone in this room tries anything else, anything, I held up the keys. I will have you out on that sidewalk so fast your heads will spin. Their eyes widened. Oh, and before you think that's an empty threat, I smiled. I already spoke to my lawyer. 3 jaws dropped. You have no idea what's coming next, I added softly. What I revealed next didn't just shake the room, it changed the entire future of the house, the marriage, and the family. And trust me, they never saw it coming. I watched them carefully, letting the panic simmer before I struck. You all think you've got the upper hand, huh? That I'm some old lady who won't fight back. I let the words hang in the air, tasting the fear as it grew in the room. Well, newsflash, the fight's already started, and I've been winning from the beginning. Trevor's face turned red. Diane's hand clutched the back of the couch like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Lily buried her face in her hands, sobbing quietly. I called my lawyer this morning, I said, pacing slowly. And guess what? He's already drawn up papers that make it crystal clear who owns this house, who is responsible for any financial liabilities, and what happens if anyone here tries to pull the stunt you've been planning. Trevor's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Diane's jaw dropped, and Lily peeked at me with wide, frightened eyes. Mom, what are you talking about? She whispered. Oh, honey, you'll see, I said with a sly smile. It's all coming out tonight. Every single lie, every manipulation, every secret you've been keeping behind my back, it's going public. Diane tried to interrupt, but I held up my hand. Don't. Just don't. I walked over to the table and tapped the folder I'd left there. Inside this folder, evidence, emails, text messages, screenshots, everything. It's all documented, time-stamped, and ready to be used if anyone here tries to play games with me. Trevor swallowed hard. Mom, please, we didn't mean. I didn't ask for your excuses, I said sharply. I asked for respect, and for the last time, respect is earned, not stolen, not faked, not hidden behind lies. Diane tried again. You're being dramatic. It's just a house, just money. I laughed, low and bitter. Just a house? Just money? Honey, this house is everything I've worked for. Every late night, every skipped vacation, every penny I saved for decades. And you think it's just a piece of property? You think my sacrifices mean nothing? That I mean nothing? My voice shook with controlled fury. Let me make this simple. You are trespassing on my life, my history, my dignity, and I will not allow it. Trevor hung his head, guilt written all over his face. Lily peeked up at me, eyes red from crying. Diane's face twisted in rage and disbelief. This is insane, she hissed. You can't do this. We're family. I walked slowly around the room, my heels clicking against the hardwood floor, a sound that made all 3 of them flinch. Family? Family doesn't erase your mother's photos. Family doesn't lie about her permission. Family doesn't think it's okay to treat her like a stranger while using her money to cover their mistakes. I stopped in front of the couch, crouched slightly so I could look each of them in the eye. And now you're about to find out that actions have consequences. For years, I've let things slide. I've cleaned up your messes, paid your bills, covered for your mistakes. And you know what that's called? Enabling. Love isn't enabling. Love isn't pretending. Love isn't a free pass to manipulate. Trevor's voice cracked. Mom, we were desperate. We didn't know what else to do. I do know what else to do, I said calmly. I waited, I watched, and now I'm taking control. The bank knows, the lawyer knows. And in exactly 48 hours, every single financial tie you think you have to me, gone. The car, gone. The accounts, closed. And if you think for 1 second I won't enforce it, well, you're about to learn the hard way. They all froze. Diane's mouth opened, closed, opened again like she was trying to scream but couldn't. Trevor's hands trembled. Lily's breathing was uneven, her face pale. I leaned back, folding my arms. And that, my dear children, is just the beginning. Because the moment they realized they were powerless, they also realized the second twist I'd been hiding all along, a secret that would shake their entire world to its core. And this one, they would never see coming. I could feel the air in the room crackle, thick with fear and disbelief. Trevor was pale, Diane was trembling, and Lily's hands shook as she clutched a throw pillow to her chest. The realization had hit them hard. For the first time, they were completely exposed, completely vulnerable, and I wasn't done yet. You know what's funny? I said, pacing slowly, my heels clicking sharply against the hardwood. You've all been so sure I'd just roll over, that I'd quietly let you manipulate me, that I'd let your lies slide, just like I'd done for years. But that's over. That's done. Kaput. Trevor's lips quivered. Mom, please, we can fix this. We can make it right. I stopped in my tracks and turned slowly, letting my gaze pierce right through him. Fix it? Fix it? For how long, Trevor? For how many years have I fixed everything for you? I worked my hands to the bone so you wouldn't have to. I paid your debts, covered your mistakes, cleaned up the messes you made, and what did I get in return? Lies, manipulation, disrespect. You think a simple apology now erases all that? Diane's voice rose, trembling with fury. You're overreacting. It's not that big of a deal. I laughed. Low and dangerous. Not a big deal? Let me remind you, sweetie, this is my life you've been playing with. My house, my money, my sacrifices. You've been treating them like Monopoly pieces, and I'm not here to play anymore. I walked over to the dining table, where the folder of evidence waited like a loaded weapon. You all see this? I tapped it with my finger. Every text, every email, every bank transfer, it's all here. Every single time you begged for money, tried to manipulate me, tried to hide your tracks. It's documented, and I am ready to take action, ready to make sure that you never underestimate me again. Trevor slumped into a chair, burying his face in his hands. Mom, please, we didn't mean for it to get this far. No, I said, stepping closer, voice calm but cutting like ice. You didn't mean it? Then why did you erase my photos? Why did you pretend I authorized your stay? Why did you call me a trespasser in my own home? Lily's eyes were wide, full of fear and confusion. Mom, I didn't know. You didn't know? I echoed. You were all complicit, every single one of you, and now it's time to face the music. I opened the folder slowly, letting the weight of it seem almost theatrical. I've been quiet, I've been patient, I've been loving, but I've also been planning, and now every action I take is deliberate. Every move is precise. No more chaos, no more lies, no more manipulation. Diane's face twisted in anger. You can't just do this to us. Oh, I already am, I said softly, almost a whisper. And there's one more thing. Their heads snapped toward me, uncertainty mixing with dread. One more thing? Trevor asked nervously. Yes, I said, flipping open a second folder. It was thicker, heavier. This is something you never expected. Something I've kept hidden for years, because I loved you, because I trusted you. But that trust ends today. They all leaned in involuntarily, and I let the anticipation hang in the room, heavy and suffocating. This, I said, pointing to the folder, is a record of everything. All the money, all the favors, all the things I've done to support you. And tonight, you're going to see it all. You're going to feel the weight of your actions. And you're going to learn the hard truth. Actions have consequences. Trevor looked like he might collapse. Diane paled further, and Lily whimpered quietly. I closed the folder with a deliberate snap. Now, let's get started, because once you see this, there's no turning back. And trust me, what comes next will change everything for all of you, because they thought this was the worst of it. But they had no idea that the secret I was about to reveal would shatter their lives in ways they could never imagine, and expose a betrayal, even bigger than the one they'd already committed. I took a deep breath, letting the room fall silent except for the crackle of the fireplace. Their eyes were all locked on me, a mixture of fear, guilt, and disbelief. Trevor's face was pale as paper, Diane's jaw clenched, and Lily was shaking like a leaf caught in a storm. They thought they'd seen everything. I was about to prove them wrong. You all want to know the real reason I kept quiet for so long? I began, my voice steady, cold, deliberate. Why I let your game slide? Why I tolerated disrespect? Why I covered your mistakes year after year? Trevor swallowed hard, but didn't speak. Diane crossed her arms, defiant, but clearly rattled. Lily peeked over the edge of the throw pillow she was hugging, wide-eyed. It's because I was waiting, I continued, pacing slowly. I was waiting for you to show me who you really are, and you did. You showed me your greed, your entitlement, your disrespect. Every lie, every manipulation, every stunt you pulled, they all led to this moment. And now it's time for the truth. I opened the second folder I had prepared, the thickest one, the one heavier than anything they'd seen before. I spread the documents across the table, making sure every eye saw the pages, the numbers, the proof. This, I said, pointing at a series of statements, is everything you never noticed. Every penny I gave you over the last 5 years. Every gift, every loan, every emergency payment. You thought it was just money, didn't you? You thought I'd keep bailing you out forever. You didn't realize I documented it all. Every time you begged, every time you lied, every time you took advantage. It's here. Diane's face went white. You kept track? I smiled coldly. Of course I did. You think I trusted you after everything? After the condo down payment? After the wedding money? After the car insurance? The credit card bailouts? The mortgage help? I trusted you enough to help, but not enough to let you disrespect me. And tonight, you're going to learn exactly what it costs to cross me. Trevor tried to speak. Mom, wait. I raised a hand to silence him. No, you're done talking. Now, look at these numbers. $42,000 in direct transfers to your accounts. $15,000 for the condo. $8,000 for the wedding. $5,500 to clear Chloe's credit card. $12,000 for your car repairs. And that's just the start. They gasped collectively, shock overtaking their bravado. Diane's face was pale. Lily looked like she might faint, and Trevor's hands were trembling. This is what I've given you, I said, voice rising slightly with controlled fury. And this is how you repay me? By sneaking into my home? Erasing my life? Calling me a trespasser? By thinking you could manipulate me one last time? Trevor's voice cracked. Mom, we didn't realize. We were wrong. Not realizing isn't enough, I said sharply. Not anymore. You need to face consequences, starting now. I picked up my phone, fingers steady, and began canceling all automatic transfers, payments, and contributions. Each click echoed like a gavel striking down decades of manipulation. Diane's eyes went wide. Lily whispered, No, no. Trevor's face crumpled. From now on, I said, laying the phone down, you handle your own lives. You live within your means. You take responsibility for your mistakes. Because I've carried you long enough, and the time for blind loyalty is over. Love isn't enabling. Love is truth. And truth hurts, doesn't it? They were silent, stunned, crushed by the weight of reality. I folded the documents back into the folder slowly, deliberately, savoring their disbelief. I had finally reclaimed my life, my home, and my authority. I glanced at the fireplace, then at them. And this, I said quietly, almost with a smile, is only the beginning. Because if you think tonight was harsh, you haven't seen the full extent of what it means to underestimate me. And that night, as I finally closed my own front door, I realized something. Sometimes the hardest thing a mother can do is choose herself, but it's also the moment she becomes free.